Mr. Lewis, you're in the banking business, and got a quick question for you here. We've created fewer businesses in the last 6 years than we've lost. So we've actually gone backwards. And of course, when you're talking about creating businesses, it's small businesses that we're talking about creating. And so, have you seen in your business world that the tax code and the complexity of it and the cost of compliance, all of this is a factor that has caused fewer businesses to actually be created?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the answer in short is yes. Again, it goes back to simple algebra. At some level, there's only so many hours.
You better make simple algebra very simple for me.
There's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much time, and there's only so much revenue coming in. And again, look at the banking, look at the financial services, for instance. The last decade, there's been all this bank regulation that's come upon. So just look at the bank itself. What you find is you find all this additional level of compliance that's required, and any one particular provision makes sense. There's a reason for it. But taken as a whole, it becomes problematic because in the end, really, as was mentioned here, a small business owner, what really matters to them is what they can put in their pocket at the end of the day. It's the cash in their pocket. It's what they can do. It's what they can consume. It's to take that money and pay for tuition for their child. It's to take a vacation. It's to pay a mortgage. That's what really matters. And all the rest of this we're discussing is getting to that bottom line. So you asked the question, what kind of an impact does it have? First of all, I can't advise a client right now on the tax law for the current year because we have the extenders that are still out there. How can I go to somebody and tell them what's going to happen with bonus depreciation or 179? They're going out to make a decision right now. They want to make a decision, but instead they're paralyzed because they don't know. Tell me what the law is, they'll say, and then I'll know how to react. You can help me, because after that it's an Excel spreadsheet. You can run it. But before then, without certainty, without permanency, you run into this problematic situation where, yeah, it does impact those businesses.
It's interesting. You talked about 179 depreciation. Last year we did the extender, I think, 2 weeks before the end of the year. And I've got a good friend of mine who runs a business that he sells a lot of rock crushers and drills and things like that for quarries. And he, over the course of the year, sold 11 different drills. Sold 11. But he sold 6 of them in the last 2 weeks of the year. Now, these things cost between $100,000 and $125,000. And I can tell you the same story with regards to farmers buying tractors and farm equipment. They waited till the last 2 weeks of the year in order to make that decision because they were looking for this opportunity.
It certainly wasn't because of Christmas, no.
Thank you. The gentleman's time's expired, but if you wanted to comment.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the reality is that the commentary would be if the tax law has a shorter shelf life than, say, a carton of milk, it's probably something we ought to look at. That's going to impact them.
Mr. Lewis, do you think, same question to you, do you agree that our tax code is a burden to formation of small business and to continuing a small business?
I think the tax code is certainly a contributor. One of the things that I think is missing in most of our regulation, which is in essence what tax law is we failed to adequately address the cost benefit. I know I hear it, I see it, people talk about it, but are we really looking at cost benefit from the small business lens? That's the question, right? I mean, you'll hear people, they'll espouse from the floor, this is a good thing, and it outweighs, but I think the real issue is from a small business lens. I mean, one of the things we have is a fundamental...
Lewis, it's not that I don't want to hear. I do want to hear, but I only have 5 minutes.
All right.
So I have to keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just happen to be a small business owner myself, or at least I used to be. And Mr. Williamson made the statement, Mr. Lewis, just a few minutes ago, the fact that businesses want to pay their taxes. And I agree. As a small business person, I want to pay my taxes. Would you agree the reason we want to pay our taxes is because we have to have a good, sound foundation to make sure we are profitable and paying taxes in order to receive revenue from banks?
Yeah, I mean, one way to look at it is that small business owner is in a partnership with the federal government. There's a lot of services, a lot of economic ability to make money, and so there's this agreement. And the tax code is sort of like the partnership agreement. Defines how we're each going to behave with each other. And I think the majority of the Americans that own these small businesses are hardworking, they're entrepreneurial, and they want to do what's right. It's when you start adding in complexity, the lack of certainty, this perception of inequality, I think that's where you start getting the fringes where people start to take a step back and either through overt or covert actions maybe are a little less compliant. But I think the majority want to comply.